Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the June 26th meeting of the Oldham County Fiscal Court. This meeting is a meeting we always have at the end of June to take the place of our first meeting in July, which generally falls at a time that people are traveling and tied up with the 4th of July holiday. So we're happy to have all of you here today. If you're able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You see that the background for our meeting today has changed a little bit. We're in the process of switching out our television sets we had there for a new screen, a large screen. That'll be there on the next time we meet, and we're looking forward to that. I'm going to ask our Fiscal Court Clerk, Holly Pride, to now please call the roll.
Magistrate Likens.
Here.
Magistrate Tice.
Here.
Magistrate Woosley.
Here.
Magistrate Jeffries.
Here.
Magistrate Hounds.
Here.
Magistrate Hawkins.
Here.
Magistrate Dye.
Present.
Magistrate Logsdon. Here. And Judge Vogel.
Here. Having all the members of the Fiscal Court present, this meeting is now in session. I'm going to ask you to please accept the agenda with no changes.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. If you have a cell phone with you today, please turn it to off or vibrate, and we'd appreciate that. First of all, is there a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting?
So moved. Second.
All right. Are there any corrections?
Didn't we just do that?
Magistrate Logsdon, did you have one?
No.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Time now for public comment, the time during our meeting when anyone who wishes may address the fiscal court. If you have an item of community interest, you're welcome to come forward now. All right. No, if you're going to if you want to address the proposed ordinance that's on the agenda, you'll be able to speak later. Saying no one, I'll close public comment. And first item on the agenda is our County Clerk, Amy Elvey, has a request for a HAVA grant application.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Amy Alvey, Oldham County Clerk. You should have in your packet an application for a resolution for the HAVA grant, which is Help America Vote Act. It's for election security. It's a fully funded reimbursable grant for $8,300. You switch this or does Jay switch it?
I'm not sure we have anything that works today. That
If not,
it can be seen on our
hold it
screen.
up.
Can be seen on our
It
screens
says
here.
detecting device.
Yeah. Okay.
That's fine.
Don't turn
I'll keep talking while he's doing that.
You can put it on the screen, and the magistrates can see it. Just that
Okay.
our
So basically, again, it's a $8,300 reimbursable grant through the Kentucky State Board of Elections. It's specific to what it can be used for. We can do election carts, which we have adequate on that because I got one last election through a grant process. Yeah, or it can be used for voting stations. So on your screen, you'll see there's it's called a Franklin 4 station. It folds up, it has wheels on it, so it's easily moved. We have plenty of the Polestar covers that you see at the different voting locations that we use for the individual voting booths. And then the two that are on this screen now, we're going to get 2 of those, and we'll use those for the 6-day excused voting in the office. We currently have 2. This would give us 4, so we'll be able to have 4 stations come November to be able to have people that come in for the 6-day excused voting. And then I spent every penny of it that I could, so down to $1.40 left in the grant. So, and then I'll be able to get 30 additional of the individual voting stations that we again use for tabletops on there. So we got a sales quote from Inclusion Solutions. They are a vendor that the State Board of Election uses. We had a county clerk email that was going around, getting opinions on everything. So we will get 7 of the Franklin 4 pods on there. We currently have 2, so that'll give us 9. Most likely we'll either use these at Pewee Valley Fire or Westport Baptist Church. That are 2 smaller of our locations, and that'll give us 36 standing positions or with a wheelchair. Then we'll order 2 of the standing pod ones that we'll use for 6-day, and then again we'll order 30 of the individual tabletops. So the total amount is $8,298.40. So I'm just respectfully requesting fiscal court to allow Judge Vogel to sign the resolution, to have him sign that, and then I can apply for the grant, and it is reimbursable through fiscal court, 100%.
Second.
Any discussion on this? I think it's a slam dunk. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. The next item on the agenda under county administration, we have the payables here. We have 2 sets. First group will be for the period ending as of today. And
Make a motion, we pay the bills as of 6/26.
Second.
any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Judge, make a motion, we pay the bills to be paid after July 1st.
Second.
Any discussion on those bills? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now we'll talk about budget transfers. We have a group of budget transfers here in the at the end of the year for June 30th, and in the general fund and road fund, jail fund, all over the map here. Is there a motion that we approve these budget transfers?
Judge, I'll make the motion. We approve the budget transfers of $1,714,829.
Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Contracts and resolutions, resolution facilitating payment of expenses for the transportation of parochial school students. We have that here every year. The Kentucky Transportation Cabinet is willing to use some money to reimburse parents for the transportation of students to all schools in the county, assuming there's funds left for that. Is there a motion to approve that resolution?
Second.
Any discussion on that? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Judge, I think we skipped community
Yeah.
business.
Did I miss one?
Community
Community
business.
business piece.
I'm coming to it next.
Oh, okay.
Agenda look like mine?
No.
Okay, contracts and resolutions were moved up ahead of there. Okay. Now we'll go to community business, the second hearing of a public hearing, or second reading of a public hearing regarding a change to the administrative code. Magistrate Logston.
Yes, sir. In front of y'all, you'll have the administrative code amendment I'm asking for. Do you want to just ask for adoption, or do you want to read the, we already
I
read
think
it
you
last
should
time.
please read what you would like to do.
Okay, I'd like for the administrative code, the CPI adjustment for elected officials. The following county elected officials not covered under KSR 64-5275 salary scheduled shall automatically receive an annual consumer price index, which is known as a CPI adjustment, in January of each year. These elected offices are magistrate, coroner, and county attorney. The fiscal court may decline the CPI adjustment or accept or reduce the CPI adjustment for those elected county offices referenced herein in any year by the order, resolution, or approved motion. The order, resolution, is approved. The motion shall apply to that year's CPI. So a CPI is what we're asking for to be approved today for those county officials right there mentioned above.
Are you making that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Logston, I'll second.
All right, moved and seconded that we adopt the administrative code, provision that allows all elected officers, magistrates, coroner, and county attorney to basically receive the same salary increase as other county employees. Normally, those are handled separately, but this would make it an automatic adjustment to be handled. And,
Right,
there's
but
a-
now it could go up, it could go down, it could stay flat, so there's no guarantee that you will get it every
No,
year.
there's no guarantee as to what it's going to be, and it could be adjusted, still be adjusted either way regardless. Okay. Sir, now this is a public hearing, so is there anyone here who would like to address this issue one way or another? In for it or against it? All right, not too controversial. I see no one coming forward. We'll close the public hearing. We have a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any discussion among the magistrates? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item, this is a public hearing as well, second reading of the medical cannabis proposed ordinance by Magistrate Hawkins.
I'd like to, Judge, I'd like to read the ordinance, and this is the second reading, like the judge said, of a proposed medical cannabis ordinance. This is ordinance number KOC 24-400-467, an ordinance relating to the prohibition of cannabis business operations in the county of Oldham. Whereas on April 15, 2024, the Kentucky General Assembly adopted House Bill 829, signed into law by the governor on April 17, 2024, amending KRS Chapter 218B, the Kentucky Medical Cannabis Chapter, and whereas KRS 218B .090 and 218B .130 authorize local governments to prohibit cannabis business operations within their territory through the passage of an ordinance, and whereas it is necessary and appropriate and in the best interest of the health, safety, and welfare of the County of Oldham, residents and members of the public who visit, travel, or conduct business in the County of Oldham to prohibit all cannabis business within the boundaries of the County of Oldham, and whereas the County of Oldham wishes to utilize the authority granted to it by KRS 218B .090 and 218B .130 to prohibit cannabis business operations within the County of Oldham. And we can go through the definitions. The definition within the KRS 218B .010 are hereby adopted as if set out herein and as relevant to this ordinance. Should it be adopted, a cannabis business is prohibited. All cannabis businesses would hereby be prohibited from operating within Oldham County, and it would be effective on this date. And so I would like to make that a motion.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor to adopt this ordinance, which would prohibit the creation and sale of creation of a cannabis distribution business in Oldham County. So this is a public hearing, so we're going to allow anyone who's come to address this issue, pro or con, to speak. I'm going to ask, first of all, if anybody who's here to speak to this issue, one way or another, would you please stand? All right. I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the entire truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? All right, thank you. You may be seated again, except I'm going to ask those in opposition, or let's say in support of the proposal to prohibit the sale of cannabis in the county to come forward. And each individual will have a chance to speak. We ask you to state your name and address, please.
Okay, my name is Laura O'Brien, 2414 North Highway 393 in LaGrange, Kentucky. Okay, so I'm here to speak in support of the ordinance. I do not want medical cannabis in Oldham County anywhere ever. It can go in Jefferson, it can go anywhere else. I don't want it in our hometown. I'm looking around, I don't know all of you, but I don't think that most of you have kids in Oldham County schools right now. I had a senior this year, so I had now two, but I had 3 kids in Oldham County schools, okay? One at the high school, Oldham County High School. He has dealt with drugs coming into the school on a firsthand basis. Like we're there. And I wanted to play for you a clip from a school board meeting where Eric Davis addressed the vaping issues in our schools, which is pertinent to what's going on right now. It's only like a minute long, but it's very important that you hear what he has to say. And so I'm gonna just play it for you.
You know, even though we've had a number of vape shops
Can you
pop
hear
up,
it?
and, you know, in conversations with kids, I think it's important for all of us, parents, myself being a parent too, students are getting them at vape shops as 15, 16-year-olds. So that's important to know. It's not just things that they're getting off the street. They're buying them illegally, but buying them in shops around the county. So.
Do you happen to know some of these counties that have some of the lower numbers? Do they have the vape sensors in the schools? Or
So I don't know about vape sensors, but Mr. Robson and I did look at some of the surrounding counties, and they, if you Google search and look where's their nearest vape shops, they are nowhere to be found in their counties. So it's also a prevalence of the ability to easily get them. And as I don't remember if it was presented or not, but Mr. Robson and I also looked to see about when these vape shops came around, and it coincides pretty well with our drastic number of increase in synthetic use of drugs.
The reason I'm sharing this is to let you guys know we already have a problem with vaping. A substance that is supposed to be illegal for kids to get is being sold to our students, 15 and 16-year-olds, to our students. Our schools are inundated with a substance that this government body allowed into our county. We don't have control over that. It is out of control, so much so that our legislators, thank you, Mr. Nemes, for helping with that our legislators had to put a law in place to help with the vaping epidemic. It has exploded in Oldham County since it's come here. And my point is, if we don't have a handle on vaping, how are we going to guarantee kids aren't getting a hold of the marijuana? We have already brought alcohol into this county, tobacco stores, vaping, and now we want to bring more drugs. I do not understand what is happening with this county, but this is not what parents want. And if you don't have kids directly in school dealing with this, then you don't know. So I'm here to tell you as a parent, I don't want this in our schools. We have no control over what's already happening with the vape shops. How are we ever going to control this other stuff? And I understand that you can promise over and over that we have rules and laws in place. They're broken. Eric Davis just admitted, and this was from February of this year, that they're already breaking the law. They're already selling to minors. So please, I support your ordinance that we don't have it here. So thank you.
All right, thank you.
Judge, I think for a hearing, doesn't one side get 50 minutes, 5-0?
Well, yes, I'm allowing more time.
Okay,
haven't,
I just saw the 4-minute clock.
Well,
go
I
off.
haven't shut anybody. Yeah, right,
Okay.
right. We'll see. We'll go ahead.
Anyone else? I'll say it's my turn. Okay, my name is Laura Tapp. Make sure I took my name tag off. My address is 1003 Cassandra Lane, apartment 6 here in LaGrange. So to make sure you all are aware, you know who I am. I work for Crossroads, but I am not here to represent Crossroads today. I'm here representing just some of my thoughts. I attended a meeting, a cannabis study group last week where I shared some of my concerns, and I emailed those out to the ones who weren't there. However, if Magistrate Dye and Magistrate Likens did not get a copy, your emails bounced back to me. I have the research here if you would like a copy of it. You want it?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I want to make sure everybody understands my perspective. I know that there are people who therapeutically can use medical cannabis, and there is a benefit to that. But I also know that people in Oldham County go to Louisville every day for medical treatment. every day. And it was, kind of when you move out here, you understand there are things you'll go to Louisville for. And that's what makes Oldham County unique, and that's why people have wanted to come all these years. The research I provided to that meeting last week talked about things like how it affects real estate values. Now, I'm talking about once you have the dispensaries here, assuming at some point, if and when, they become recreational. The real estate values change, fatalities and automobile accidents change, health consequences change. And while sharing that information, I provided a list, a couple of different lists of states that have approved medical cannabis to begin with. And then I gave the year that was approved, and then the date that recreational became available. And now what started out as a 17-year time span has now moved. It's now 4 to 8 years for most states before it becomes recreational. And it was suggested that maybe those states do something that we don't, that, maybe there's a reason they're doing it and we should consider doing it. So while I don't ever think we should do things just because someone else is doing them, it did pique my interest, so I did a little more digging. And what I found out, I'm just going to give you a few of the statistics I found. In Oklahoma, medical marijuana is all that's approved. It started in 2018, and by January of 2022, 400,000 people in Oklahoma had a card that said they could receive medical cannabis. That's not 400,000. So that's 1/10. That's 1 out of every 10 adults. And when I say 400,000, I'm not talking 1 in 10 adults. I'm talking 1 in 10 people. So all the state's population, 1 in 10 1 in 10 residents in Oklahoma has a card to obtain it. Other states that we looked at, New York, 50% of the towns in New York State have opted out of having a dispensary in their county. Michigan, 73% of the municipalities have opted out and don't sell medical cannabis. New Jersey, 60% have opted out. California, 60% have opted out. And Colorado, that's always given as the example, 7 years after Colorado began recreational sales, 50% of the state didn't allow any type of recreational sales. So maybe they do know something we don't. Maybe we should call them and find out why they're opting out, why 60% or more of the population doesn't want it in their counties. Other things I wanted to share are just that I believe a dispensary and businesses for cannabis in Oldham County are going to desensitize people to the risks. And when I say people, I mean primarily our young people. When they see a dispensary there and it's medical and, well, gosh, if doctors prescribe it, it must not be so bad. But we know that it is. And we know that generally things get abused to the point, and then it becomes recreational, and then we have all these problems. I want better for Oldham County. I want better for my grandchildren. And over the course of the last decade, I've had opportunity to travel in this country, and I've visited cities where the sale of cannabis is recreational and it's out there. And what I have seen and what you smell when you walk through town, I don't ever want that here. I just don't want it. And someone else made a suggestion that the position that you're in is to make decisions for this community, for this county, based on the question you're being asked for today, and not to consider how that might affect our county in the future. I pray that you all don't really feel that way. Every decision you make is going to have some later effect in this county, and I hope that you all are the visionary leaders that I want you to be, to consider that. And I thank you for letting me share my thoughts.
All right, thank you, Laura. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor of the ordinance?
Good afternoon, Daryl Bramer, 6508 High Point Ridge. I also work at Operation Parent, and just taking a little bit of I agree with what's been said here as far as prohibiting this. I think what we see a lot, parents have to go through a lot in today's world, and they have a lot of things that their kids are going through and exposed to and whatnot. and just a few studies that are out there regarding the exposure, just the exposure to the medical dispensaries. You know, it's very negative when it comes to the youth exposure, but they become normalized to some of this stuff, and studies have shown. Here's one from the, if I can read it, the Society for the Study of Addiction, and this is the associations between young adult medical marijuana outcomes and the availability of medical marijuana dispensaries and storefront signage. And it just says for young adults living near more medical marijuana dispensaries, it is positively associated with more frequent use of marijuana. So really just the exposure and just being around, and it just, things become normalized. We've seen that with the alcohol and the struggles we've had there as well within our youth. Also, it says suggested exposure to marijuana advertising, positive perceived norms were associated with intention to use marijuana. That was out of Washington State University. And then finally, there's a article from Aaron Weiner, PhD. It says local policy allowing cannabis retail associated with adolescents significantly higher past 30-day use of cannabis. So basically, you're saying kids are using it more as the more they're exposed to it. Just the nearness, the location of these dispensaries and whatnot. So definitely I'm in agreement with prohibiting the use of the building of any dispensaries here in Oldham County. So thank you very much.
And thank you. Is there anyone else here today who would like to speak in favor of the ordinance? All right, now we'll move on to those who are here who would like to speak in opposition to adopting this ordinance. And we welcome State Representative Jason Nemes.
Thank you, Judge. I want to first thank you for the opportunity to be here today to everybody. I want to thank Magistrate Hawkins for bringing this up for discussion, something we should be thinking through all around the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Jason Nemes, State Representative, 33rd District, that's Jefferson, Oldham, and Shelby counties. I want to say at the front, this is a disagreement among friends. Not only is Magistrate Hawkins and I close friends, a lot of the folks who have spoken today, and Ms. O'Brien in particular, who I have a great deal of respect for, are coming before various government bodies making their voices heard. And almost every time they do, I'm doing cartwheels and saying, you go, I'm with you. So this is a disagreement among friends. And even those on the group today who will vote yes and vote no, I know you guys are friends with one another, and I'm each of your friend as well. And so it's a difficult thing to disagree with friends, but it's important that we do so when necessary. I'll start with this as a matter of substance. We're not talking about recreational marijuana. I'm against recreational marijuana. You can't, I've got a hand with 5 fingers on it. You can't fill this hand up with a number of people in the majority caucus in the House or the Senate that supports recreational. It isn't going to happen in Kentucky. We're not going to pass recreational. If recreational comes up in Frankfort, I will be fighting with everything I have, filibustering, doing everything I can possibly do to stop it. But the bottom line is it's not going to come up. It'll never be voted on because there's not enough people to even bring it up for a vote. We're only talking about medical marijuana, not recreational. There are over 40, I think there are 45 states that have medical marijuana. There are 24 states that have recreational. So there's the canard that everybody that goes medical goes recreational is not true. It happens in some places. It will not happen in Kentucky, and it hasn't happened everywhere. So we're talking about medical, not recreational. We also were talking about the bill that we passed. It's a bill that I was fighting for 5 years, pushed by my constituents in Crestwood and in Pewee Valley, and also in Louisville and all over the state to pass. Is the tightest bill in the whole country. Magistrate Logsdon, we always hear when the world ends, you want to be in Kentucky because everything happens 20 years later. Well, that's a joke, but it's also wisdom, because what we can do is we can learn from the states that have already done something, and we've taken from the states that have done it well, and we've made it the tightest that we possibly can. The doctors have to be pre-approved by the Kentucky Board of Medical Licensure. It's not just any doctor that can do this. They have to sign up and get pre-approved to be in the program. Then everything that they prescribe has to go into Casper. So the cops have the information, the regulators have that information. This is very tight from the doctor's perspective. It has a limited number of things that you can be eligible for. It's not anything that your physician or you think that you should be able to get it for. And there are 4 effectively industries, I guess, that are highly regulated in this. You have your cultivator, which is your grower, your farmer. Has to be grown indoors, by the way. Has to be a locked facility. where the lights are bright, the cops have the keys and all that stuff. So they've got the cultivator, highly regulated. You have the processor, which takes the raw plant and then puts it into the product. And then you have the dispensary, which is what we're talking about here today, and that is the retailer. The retailer, all of these places are highly regulated. The lights are bright, the cops have the keys, the products have been tested. And so those are highly regulated. But then you also have, and this is an important point, especially for me as a parent, you have all of this product is tested to make sure it doesn't have things like fentanyl in it, or it doesn't have too much THC in it, because those things are regulated by the statute. So this is a highly regulated, very tight bill. And I'll tell you this, Judge, the people who are supportive of recreational marijuana, I think I'm their number one enemy, because they think I should be on their side because I'm fighting for medical. I'm totally against them. I'm not their ally. I will not support them ever on trying to go to recreational. And so they're very upset with that, but it is what it is. Well, this is only medical. That's all we're talking about. So it's a very tight bill. Next is, we know this is going to help people. I'm a father. I've got 3 kids in school in Jefferson County, and I don't want it in Jefferson County. I don't want it in Oldham County. I don't want it in Shelby County. I don't want it anywhere. But the vape shops, it's already everywhere, and that has nothing to do with this. This is, as I said, it's going to be tested to make sure that the products are safe, whereas those other things are not tested. It'll be double packaged, and everybody will know who's in the program. Again, not the situation with the vape situation, the vape matter that my friend Ms. O'Brien mentioned, which I am going completely with her on that issue. But we do know this is going to help people. I'll say one anecdote, and then I know we all have anecdotes. But I was at a fundraiser one day for a private school, and this guy comes up to me. He's in his mid-40s. And he waits till I'm not around my friends anymore. And he comes and he says, "Are you Jason Nemus?" I say, "Yes, sir. What's up?" And he starts tearing up a little bit, and he says, "Thank you for the fight, because I have MS. He has multiple muscle spasticity, he has for multiple sclerosis." And he says, "And I'm going to tell you, I don't break the laws, but I do break this one. Just a little bit of marijuana lets me go to work and provide for my family." This guy, he said, "I don't normally break the law, but I have to here because it helps me." This guy all he wants to do is go to work and provide for his family. And I'm telling you, there are thousands of people, Magistrate Woosley, all over the Commonwealth, all over the country that are in this situation, are good people who just want to do right by their families. They don't want to break the law. And so the General Assembly passed this overwhelming majorities. All 3 the representatives, including the Speaker, who represents Oldham County, voted for it, and our state senator voted for it as well. So it's unquestionable that it helps people. Nobody, I think, doubts that anymore. The last point I want to make is, as I said up front, I want to thank Magistrate Hawkins for bringing this up to make sure that we're having this kind of a conversation. But one thing that I hear when it comes up is, we have to do this now. We have to do this now. The horse is going to get out of the barn. We're not going to be able to stop this. So let me just make sure everybody understands the process. You probably do, but I just want to make sure. So you can start applying on July the 1st. Those applications will go through the lottery system, and I think they'll start being awarded September the 1st. You can act now to disallow it, but you don't have to act till January. If somebody gets a license, if they get it in September the 1st, you guys can act until January the 1st to say, nope, not in Oldham County. So my suggestion is, we have time. My suggestion is that we make sure we're doing the right thing for Oldham County, and we have a strong ordinance that's a zoning ordinance. Make sure you have your time, place, and manner put all in place. If you don't think the statute is strong enough, I think it has 1,000 feet or 1,000 yards. I don't remember a lot of different iterations of the bill from a school. If you want it more, make it more. Put our time, place, and manner restrictions in place, and then let the process go forward. But we do have time. This is not the day that it has to happen. I know we've heard a lot about July 1st being a magic day. That's not the magic day. The magic day is January the 1st, and I think we have plenty of time. Judge, with that, I'll answer any questions, but that's the remarks that I have.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, John.
Judge,
But
can we ask?
Just,
we'll have a chance for the court to question any person here in a minute, okay?
Okay, well, I was just going to, it was a clarification thing about
Okay.
how the number of dispensaries. I don't want. it's not
Okay,
gonna-
do you want to address that, please? Okay.
So the question, just in case nobody heard it, somebody didn't hear it, was how many dispensaries? There are going to be, there are 11 districts in the whole Commonwealth of Kentucky, and there's going to be 48 dispensaries. There's 44, so 4 per each of those districts. And then there's 2 in Jefferson and 2 in Fayette, so 48 total. We are, I think we're about 7 counties are with us in our group of, here, thank you very much. So we have,
It is
7 counties with us. So it's Bullitt, Bullitt, Oldham, 6. Bullitt, Oldham, Henry, Trimble, Shelby, and Spencer. So those collective will get four dispensaries. There are 44 throughout the state, and then an additional 2 in Jefferson and 2 in Fayette.
That 4 each or 4 between those?
No, so it's total. So we'll not be in 4 in Oldham and
Initially.
4 in it'll be 4 total in the counties that I just read.
Initially.
Well, that's the law right now. Magistrate Hawkins says initially, and I guess that could be altered, but the law as of right now is that it'll be 4 in each of these 11 districts.
Actually, Jefferson will get 2.
That's
So-
right.
So we'll have 6 in our district.
Well, if you include Jefferson in the district, so Jefferson will have 2.
Jefferson is in our district, right?
It's in the map, but yes, but they'll have 2 of their own, and so will Fayette have 2 of its own, right?
So our district and Fayette's district will have 6. The other 9 will have 4.
That's right. If you include, that's right, and you do include, because it is in the map, that Fayette is in the 1st district and Jefferson is in the 2nd district. But yes, there'll be 4 in the counties that are not Jefferson.
Okay. All right, now, as part of this hearing, those who would like to rebut anything that Representative Nemus has said or speak in opposition to any point he made, you're able to do so if you'd like to. Yes. Okay.
The clock was running on me, so I thought I ran out of time. Okay, so other thing I was going to bring up is that I'm from Michigan, okay? They have full-blown recreational. It has ruined the state. When you drive up into Michigan, when we go visit family, the entrance of it is full of advertisements for dispensaries. This one, that one, all these weed stores all over the place. And I know that, you think that we're not headed towards recreational. But Jason Nemus, Mr. Nemus, he may not be here forever. What happens in 10 years or 5 years where the new representatives come in? What if they support it? Well, then we're stuck with recreational coming in. And part of that, so in Michigan, when we visited one year, we went to a park. There were adults sitting on the playground, toking it up, right with kids running around. And my kids came up to me and said, "Mom, what's that weird smell?" And so what do? It's totally legal there. You can't say, "Hey, don't smoke there." It's allowed. It trashed Michigan. And so that's why I feel very strongly about it. I don't want it here. I don't care if it's in Jefferson. I get people need it. And like Ms. Tapp said, we drive there all the time. I drive to Home Depot. I drive to Chick-fil-A. I don't mind driving to Louisville. I'll go there for something I need. Let them have it. We need to keep our county clean. And one of the things that I noticed about Oldham County is we're turning into Pottersville. You guys ever watch It's a Wonderful Life? You got George Bailey going in through this midlife crisis of like, what would happen if I wasn't here? Well, that city, that town of Bedford Falls turned in his vision Pottersville with strip clubs and bars and alcohol, and I feel like that's what Oldham County is turning into. And I'm not alone in this. There's a lot of people that are getting fed up about it. There's 2 smoke shops right across the street from each other by Kroger. You know how trashy that looks? We need to bring Oldham County back to a Bedford Falls feeling. That's what I want. That's why I moved here. I love it. I love the small town. So when we talk about bringing in medical marijuana, I get it helps people, but that's more than that. Did you know you can already get it in a pill form from a pharmacy? There's ways to have help for these people without bringing it here. So I'm asking you, please just don't let it be here. We already have to deal with all this other stuff that we don't like. And so that's my thing. As a mom, as a parent, I love living here, and I just want to keep our county clean. So thank you.
All right, thank you.
Lindsay's here. She probably wants to help.
Can I just let her catch her breath and say one more thing?
Okay.
I can appreciate everything that Mr. Nemus said about the legislator moving forward with, because people want the medical cannabis to be available for those who need it. But while I can't speak specifically for any legislators, I'm pretty confident that there were several who would not have signed this legislation had it not had an opt-out option for counties and communities that didn't want it. They put it there for a reason, knowing that not every community in the state is going to want this in their community. And I just want everybody to keep that in mind.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Do I need to announce myself?
Yeah, you got to state your name and address.
All right,
We
Senator
know who you are.
Titchener, Senator Lindsay Titchener, 4604 Miller Glen Place. So I'm just coming straight out of an orthodontist appointment, so rushing to get here. And I was listening online as much as I could. I love the idea that this legislation has given the counties the choice to make. And I think this is a decision that should be made locally. I was a yes vote on medicinal cannabis, just in the amount of research I did. I felt like it had definitely some qualities that can benefit people. Where I stand on this as a citizen, I would prefer for this not to come to my county yet. I think we are at a place where we can allow other counties nearby, Jefferson County, to be an example for us. We can watch and see how it goes, make sure that we have very strict zoning ordinances in place so that this isn't near churches, not near schools, not accessible, or looks all fancy with all the LED lights all around the windows like we see all around LaGrange right now with our vape stores. I just think we should err on the side of caution here. It will absolutely be available for people to drive into Jefferson County to have access to it, but I don't think right now it's a good thing for Oldham County. I think we should be the conservative county that we always have been and take a step back. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, those in opposition, Representative Nemus, you'd like to speak to any of those points, or did you?
I think everybody understands the
Okay.
question.
All right. But did you want to speak in favor of, you came in later?
I hadn't intended to speak, but may I approach?
Sure. Okay.
Swearing in.
I assume you're speaking to the ordinance, right? Okay, and you got to state your name and address.
Yep, my apologies. I hadn't intended to speak originally, but Blaine Anderson, 1414 Grandview Court in LaGrange. I am going to speak in opposition of the ordinance. Interesting, I have 3 daughters. 2 of them were over at my house last night. We got into this conversation about medical cannabis. Again, they're both nurses. They deal with all sorts of issues. And they were adamant about the fact that this is necessary, and appreciate the fact that the legislature did pass the medical cannabis law. But now we're talking about, it's like the conversation that had 10 years ago when you folks talked about this being a dry county and we finally became a wet county. Well, let's let everybody else do it. Let's let people drive in and buy their booze in Jefferson County and elsewhere, and hopefully they don't drink and drive when they bring it back over the county line here in Oldham County. As I understand this, we're talking about potentially one standalone dispensary in this county. I mean, you could have 4, but if there's 7 counties that could have 6, as I understand the conversation, you might get 1. It's a standalone dispensary. They have very strict rules and regulations encoded in the law that says no one under the age of 18, meaning the high school kids, the middle school kids, they cannot enter the dispensary by law. Okay? There's very strict rules on who can be employed there as far as the background checks and whatnot. So this is not stuff that's going to be going out the back door. Okay? I appreciate the conversations about, the recreational cannabis. I moved here from Vancouver, Canada. If you want to get high, go to the #1 attraction up there, Stanley Park, and you'll see people sitting on benches smoking because it's recreational. You can do it up there. I don't think most of us in this room are ever going to support that. Interesting, last night I was pleased to have Representative Nemus as well as Magistrates Jeffries and Hawkins at a Oldham County GOP meeting. We had about 25 people there, and they kind of expressed, told us about the law and their comments either for or against this particular ordinance. We then had a quick straw poll, and I just said, how many of you are in favor of medical cannabis? And I think it's fair to say that about 3/4 of the hands went up for that. Although we then had someone asked, say, can we do on as far as this particular ordinance? And it was more split. It was about a 50-50 vote as to whether they support this ordinance or not. And I think it was because, again, not understanding the context of what can or cannot be in this particular ordinance. So I thought that was somewhat interesting. But again, I think the big thing, I kind of hear a lot of misconceptions out there. Like, again, when I hear neon lights and everything else, this is a standalone building that's going to sell medical cannabis or cannabis products or cannabis accessories. It's not selling cigarettes. It's not selling booze. This is what they will sell. So when we start hearing out, it seems like we're getting a lot of background noise around the central issue of this is going to be what they're selling for people that need it. And again, we know a lot of people, I'm sure Jason could tell a lot more stories about people that absolutely need this. And in many cases, they may be out there having, previous to this law, be purchasing it through not necessarily legal means. So again, my take on it is that I would oppose this particular ordinance. Thank you.
All right, is there anyone else who would speak in opposition to the ordinance? Seeing no one, I'll close the public comment, and we'll come back to the magistrates now and see if the magistrates have any questions for any of the speakers. Magistrate Hawkins.
I'd like to ask Ms. Tapp questions. Ms. Tapp was part of the cannabis study group that we did 2 Fridays ago, and you kind of brushed over a little bit this timeline of going from medicinal to recreational. And I think in your research you have found, and I just kind of wanted to make sure I understand it, it started out about 14 years from medicinal to recreational, and then now it's about 4 to 6 years. And I think that kind of comes with legislation changes and also being desensitized to it.
You have to come up, yes.
Yeah, when you look at the first states that became approved for medical cannabis, it took about 17 to 18 years, 17 generally, to go from the time they approved medical to the time they approved recreational. States most recently who've made the transition, it happened in 4 to 8 years, and it was all legislative changes that came into effect. And it was, I believe, because people were desensitized. They had seen these dispensaries in their communities and thought, well, if doctors are prescribing it, it must be okay. And now it's recreational, and now they're facing the issues that come along with that.
All right, Magistrate Jeffries.
Yes, Judge. Yeah, I've just, got some concerns. We did have a good meeting last night with the Republican Party and had a lot of folks, a lot of questions and whatever. I come down to the qualifying conditions under Senate Bill 47 that a doctor can prescribe medical cannabis for is, number one, cancer, post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, multiple sclerosis, chronic pain, epilepsy, chronic nausea, and muscle spasms. And, folks that are suffering from these conditions, from what we have heard from doctors, medical professionals, or whatever, that this product works. And it's, it's better to have these folks, I think, on a product that can help them live a better life than put them be on some of the opioids that we have, that we hear about every day. So, right now I cannot support this ordinance as written. And there were some questions that's been brought up about, that the Planning Commission, we don't have the rules and regulations in place. We have till January 1st to do that. And I think the Planning Commission has the ability to, take this to the Study Review Committee, SRC, and let them discuss it and come up with some language on setbacks and how close to schools and things like that. So, I think we can get a handle on that until, before January or whatever, to say where these dispensaries can be located. And I say dispensaries, one at the most. And there's going to be 44 total statewide that's available. So there's no guarantee that we're going to get one in Oldham County anyhow, because if there's more applications than 44, the Kentucky Lottery is going to have a lottery for these licenses to do dispensaries. So, there's no guarantee that Oldham County will get one of those, one of the dispensaries. So at this juncture, I cannot support the Magistrate Hawkins ordinance to deny a dispensary in Oldham County.
Are we still asking opposition questions, Judge?
No, I think we've closed the public comment
Okay.
sort of this. But I think, given the fact that we have, I guess you're the author of the bill, aren't you? Yes. We have the author of the bill here who can ask. I would certainly make an exception in that regard to answer any questions regarding the specifics of how the bill works. But
Yeah,
if
I
we
thought
have
were
a
still on
Magistrate
the-
Woosley was next here, and then we'll
Okay.
get to that.
Representative Nemus, I'm going to ask you to come up. I do have some questions for you specifically. Magistrate Jeffries just touched on how the other licenses are going to be passed out. So can you give us some background on that, on how, so we know Jefferson County is going to get 2, Fayette County is going to get 2.
Right.
How are the other ones going to be handled?
Okay, so the process opens up July the 1st. And then people can make, so let's say you have a company, ABC company, that wants to be a dispensary or a processor or whatever, they want to be in this industry. They would submit an application to the state, the executive branch. And the executive branch would then look at all of those. If there are only 4 that qualify, it's a very demanding application. But if they submit, or if they qualify under the application and there's more than 4 in the particular area, then it will go to the Kentucky Lottery for just a lottery. So ABC will be 1, DEF will be, you get the point, and they'll pick the 4. If there are only 4 that qualify, then those will get it. If there are, so that's the process for the dispensaries. Magistrate Woosley, I don't remember how many processors there are. There are far fewer, but there will be far fewer applications there as well. Dispensaries is what I think most citizens are thinking of.
When a dispensary applies for a license, on that application, do they have to name the location they're going to go in?
They do, yes.
Okay.
So they have to either, my understanding is that they either have to own it, have a lease on it, or have a contingency lease that if they get approved, then so they will have to identify the location beforehand.
So the other 4 licenses for our 11 county area
7.
could go into Jefferson County if those are randomly chosen by the lottery.
I'm not sure about that because the Jefferson and Fayette are a little bit differently. I would have to call the Sam Flynn, who's running it for the executive branch. I'd have to call and ask him. That's why I was a little hesitant earlier when I was saying our region gets 6 rather than 4. It's my understanding that Jefferson and Fayette get 2, and then the remainder ones in the remaining counties in that district get 4 collectively. So I'm
they're
not sure the
eligible
answer.
for the other 4.
I don't think so,
Okay.
but I could be wrong about that.
Okay. Next question. Local control. If what we're due today, if we pass this ordinance and says we don't want this in Oldham County,
Right.
the city of LaGrange could pass an ordinance that says, yeah, they do want it in LaGrange. Same thing with city of Crestwood. Same thing with city of Prospect. Is that true?
And the city of Pewee Valley. Let's not leave them out.
And
That's right.
Pewee
Yeah.
Valley. So
That's right.
So the only thing we're really doing today is keeping it out of the city limits. If the city limits decides they want to do it.
Keeping out of the non-incorporated limits.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, you'd be keeping it out of the county because then it would require an action from them. But they could take an action if that's your point. Yes.
So the city of LaGrange tomorrow could say we're going to create an ordinance that
That's right.
says we do want it in here, and would that override us as saying a county we don't want it in the county?
I don't want to use the word override. They have independent authority, and they would be able to do that. Yes. You can use the word override, but yeah,
They are. We're saying no in the county, and they're
That's
saying
right.
yes in the city.
in their jurisdiction, they can make that decision. That's right.
Okay. There was some comments made about they didn't want it in the area. Today, we're not saying nobody in Oldham County is going to be able to get medicinal cannabis. You guys have already made that decision. It's coming. And if 10% of Oldham County apply for a prescription, they're going to get it. Our only question today is, where are they going to get that prescription filled? Can they get it here? Do they have to go into Jefferson County? Do they have to go to wherever these other 4 licenses are going?
They could. I would suggest to your Magistrate Woosley that a lot of people who need this have a lot of difficulty in travel. And so I think that some people, you would be prohibiting them from from at least reasonable access to it. To your question, can they go outside Oldham County and get it? Yes, they could do that. Obviously, I think a lot of people have difficulty even getting to the polls, which hopefully is more close to them. I think the legal answer to the question is no, you wouldn't be prohibiting them, but practically, I think we would be prohibiting some.
The comment was that you'd be in parks and you'd be able to smell it downtown.
No, and that's wrong. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Nothing we to do is going to stop that. If somebody is able to get a prescription, they're going to be able to have edibles, have the options that it's available in, and be able to use medicinal cannabis in downtown LaGrange, regardless of what we do here today.
That's right, and they can't smoke it. And
That's true,
and
yes.
if you're under 21, there's no vaping or anything of that nature.
Gummies.
That's it. Yeah. And the law says that it can't be attractive to children. So I don't know that that's fully flushed out, but like colorful gummy bears, I don't think that would be allowed. Those types of things. But I want to be really clear about this because I went to Atlanta recently and with my 3 sons and my wife and smelled marijuana everywhere. It was disgusting. We do not want that anywhere in Kentucky, much less in Oldham County. That isn't this bill. If you smoke marijuana, you not only will lose your card, you should be going to jail.
Can I ask you this question? Again, I'm confused here. There's going to be a maximum of 1 license possibility for Oldham County. Is that correct?
Well, Judge, there's 4.
There's 4. I
Right.
mean, well, okay, it's a lottery.
That's right.
It's a lottery for 4 licenses in a 7-county area, or 6 counties, taking out Jefferson.
Right.
So if all applicants who are, let's say, successful in the lottery say they want to be in Oldham County, would that mean we would have 4 stores here?
Well, I think you can properly zone that question away. I
Right.
think
Well,
I think we can put time, place, and manner. The intent of the General Assembly was with the local control. And we put that in. Talked with Senator Titchener and other people about the local control, which is important to me and most of my colleagues as well. I think that a county could say only 1. The county could say up to 4, whatever the county would want to do. But I think you can put that in your time, place, and in your zoning restrictions.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'd like clarification on, comments have been made about vape stores. I don't think we have any vape stores in downtown LaGrange, do we? Do we? 3? I guess I'm oblivious to driving by these things or not. I don't know. But Barry, is vaping, someone made the comment that we allowed vaping in Oldham County. Are we, do we allow it, or can we pick out a product that we say cannot be sold here if it's a legal product?
I'm not aware. I mean, vaping is smoking. It's no different really in a lot of respects to smoking cigarettes, I don't think. I mean, people are vaping because of some perceived health issue that it's not as bad as cigarette smoking, or they can get away with it in public places. But I don't believe that the county has any ordinance that would be able to prohibit that. I mean, you can have it. It's no different than having the liquor store that sells the smoke shop up there that's selling cigarettes. So I'm not sure that.
Right, I didn't think that it could actually be prohibited. It's been mentioned that schools, it's rampant around schools or whatever. Why don't the school implement a rule that you cannot have this product on school property?
They have, Judge.
Okay, well, do they enforce it?
Apparently not.
You gotta catch it.
Well, that's not our problem if they don't enforce it.
And with respect to schools, in this bill is the ability of schools to completely opt out. And if they do allow their students to have access, they have to go through a nurse or a parent. It can't be just out in the open on the bus. But they can opt out altogether.
Okay. Magistrate Hounds.
Thank you, Judge. I've received a lot of phone calls, and some of them have been for, and some of them have been against. And I've had a couple of people make comments about why do I feel we need this? And I have a fundamental goal, being a lifelong person in Oldham County. I live 4 miles from where I grew up. And I believe that part of what we should do is try to keep our dollars and our people as much as we can in Oldham County because it's safer. There's a lot of stuff going on in Jefferson County, Louisville Metro. Comment was made last night, and a comment's been made to me today. Let's just pump the brakes and see what happens. Let's see what Metro does. No way am I going to take the lead on something like this for Metro. We can go through a list of problems that they're having that we're not having today. I don't want to be a part of that. I don't live there. I don't want to live there. When we had our work group, the law enforcement officials that were there, when asked, did not have a problem with this. I asked the question, how many runs have you made to the methadone clinic? And they looked at each other and said, we don't believe any. My response to that is, if there were some, they would know about it and they would be able to bring that up. We have a procedure in fiscal court that we try to follow. Sometimes we don't. This ordinance didn't follow that. Never went through a committee. We had a work group discussion about it. And I feel like that we should follow our procedures. If we're not going to have them, then throw them out. Let's follow the procedures. I don't want people to travel into Oldham County, into Jefferson County, to have to, with the issues that they have of the conditions that are allowable for medical cannabis, make it more difficult for them to have a quality of life. And I think that that's part of what we're talking about. I understand from the kid perspective. I am scared to death for my kids. I have 2 kids. We have conversations about drugs and alcohol on an irregular basis. I hope that they stay away from it. I'm doing my darndest to make sure that they do. I appreciate what the legislature has done in the fact that they have reviewed this for years. When Representative Nemes got elected was the same time I got essentially appointed to this position. And it was a topic of conversation the second meeting that we had. It's taken Representative Nemes and many of his cohorts 7 years, 8 years to make this happen. So this is not something that we did overnight. I think that they've done their homework. We have to put faith in the system. Let's keep on pace. We're talking about medical cannabis. We need to keep on medical cannabis. That's what we're here to talk about. That's what the ordinance is to talk about. I spoke with Magistrate Jeffries, who used to be in charge of the Planning Commission. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, Magistrate Jeffries, but I asked him, in procedure, could we create zoning ordinances starting today and have them implemented in time for January? His comment to me, I believe, was absolutely. It would need to go through SRC, like he mentioned earlier, and then through the Planning Commission. We have time to put together proper ordinances to make sure that we take care of the issues that people have spoken about today. I don't want it around my kids. I don't want it around my church. There may be a very, very small area that this dispensary can go in, if we even get one. The areas that we're talking about are Trimble County, Henry County, Shelby County, Spencer County, Bullitt County, and Oldham, Jefferson getting 2. If I believe the way I read it, Representative Nemes, that Jefferson could get 3 or 4. I don't know if I'm reading that correctly. I could have been reading that incorrectly. I was quick to look for that last night. But I don't believe that, again, if we move this out of Oldham County, where are they going to go to get this? And I don't want those folks that may have fragile travel, I guess is the term I'm going to use, because of their condition or because of other things, to get this. What we need to do is we take care of this ordinance today. We start on our zoning regulations tomorrow. We've got very smart people that can help us with the zoning, and we can build this out so that we can make it as safe as possible. I for one, would never support medical cannabis or anything. I hate the neon lights. I hate the what do you call those? The running lights. We've got those in a few places. Planning and zoning has done a fabulous job of cutting those out. There's a place in Centerfield, and there's a place in Crestwood that had the running lights. By the way, neither one of those were vape shops. One of them was a Mexican grocery. I don't remember what the other location was, but it had nothing to do with vaping, had nothing to do with any of this. So I'm opposed to the ordinance. I will tell you that this is one of several situations, but the amount of research that I've done, the amount of reading that I've done, the amount of questions that I've asked, I've talked to medical professionals. I was with 2 of them this morning. I didn't bring it up. They brought it up to me, and they said, I can tell you this is going to work. I can tell you that it's going to be safe. We've only been talking about this. In her case, she said for over 12 years in the medical community, they've been talking about medical cannabis and the ability to give it to their patients so that they can have a quality of life that the rest of us currently enjoy. Thank you.
Manager Hawkins.
I just wanted to clarify something. Nobody is saying that medicinal cannabis is not effective. There is an efficacy to it. Anybody in Oldham County with nausea or long-term pain, which are 2 things that are in the Kentucky ordinance that is not in, or law, which is not in Texas, which happens to be a little bit more rigid. Ours has, which is like nausea and other disorders that aren't necessarily epilepsy, like seizure disorders. That's beside the point. That this can help people. We already know it can help people. That's not up for debate or argument. I think what we need to consider is what we want the future of our county to look like. When this, as Ms. Tapp said, when this goes recreationally, we can't back up out of it. Once we open the door, we can't back it back up and say, oh, wait, we don't want this recreational dispensary here in the county. So I also wanted to clarify a couple of things. When somebody said something about being travel, was that your word, travel disabled or something? What we have learned in all the CAECO briefings stated that the objective is to have one of these dispensaries every 15 minutes or 15-minute drive from everybody in the state. So that sounds like Eastern Jefferson County to me. That sounds like another one could be in Jefferson County, probably 3 in Jefferson County, maybe just 2. And then 15 minutes or so drive so that everybody can have access who needs access to this very effective medicine. And Laura brought up that you can already get THC from a pharmacy, and that's true. If you need it, it's not going to be marijuana, and it's not going to be through a cultivator, but it's THC in a pill form, already through the Federal Drug Administration and available in pharmacies, and that's available today. It's not spoken about because this gets more attention, but it is a thing. And then I wanted to address the initial rollout. The initial rollout is going to be 48 dispensaries in our Commonwealth. That's the initial rollout. So I have talked continuously to the Office of Medical Cannabis, and I've asked them, and I asked them just again yesterday, how long is your initial rollout? What are you planning? And they said, well, the market's going to dictate what that means. So the initial rollout is 48 dispensaries in the Commonwealth. Like was said, 6 in our chunk of 7 counties. After the initial rollout, could be 3 months, could be 6 months. It's up to the Office of Medical Cannabis to decide. It could be 148. It's going to depend on the market, is what they said. Supply, demand, So we're talking about the initial rollout is only going to be 48. But that word initial is not defined anywhere, and nobody can define it for us. I also wanted to make mention that raw material will be allowed in these dispensaries. Raw material is the buds. It's the marijuana plant. They will be allowed. They will have to have packaging around them. So if they get pulled over, it's supposed to be in the packaging. But what do you do with raw material? I think the intention is that you go home and you put it in your brownies, and that helps you. But really, you can smoke it. I mean, that's what you do. You may not be able to buy the papers at the dispensary or the bong or the pipe, but or your pop can, but you can get that anywhere and you can smoke it on the way home. And that's the truth. And that's probably what people are going to be doing with raw material. It's illegal, but to say people aren't going to be smoking their raw material, they're going to go home and bake it in their brownies is, I think, absurd. So as we look into the future of the county, we open that. I said this last night. You open up the gate. You can't put the horse back in. I think, okay, let's talk about the July 6th. Or July 1st. That is very important. The initial rollout was October 1st, where these cultivators and dispensary owners or potential dispensary owners could apply to be a dispensary in the Commonwealth. It was October 1st. They said, wait a minute, we can't get a business open between October 1st and January 1st. You have to roll it back to July 1st for us. So they did. That put us, local governments, in a lurch where we have to kind of act quickly because, look, yes, we can wait until January 1, but as they've said at CAECO, that's going to create chaos and confusion for a business owner. If they apply, they want to be across, say, LaGrange Baptist Church on Commerce. And then we later come back and say, oh, wait, you can't be within 1,000 feet from a church because churches aren't addressed in the law right now. It's only schools that are addressed in the law. So we may say, we want you to be at least 1,000 feet from a church. But if they've already put that application in, July 1, they're already planning on it, say they already own the land, and then we're going to yank that back from a business owner to say, oh, wait, no, I know you put your application in July 1. We didn't do anything as far as ordinances go, and now we're going to yank this carpet out in front of you, and now we're sitting there with a dispensary in front of a church, which we don't intend to have if I kind of read the room. So what this would do, and I also called the Office of Medical Cannabis and verified this, we can pass this ordinance today as a prohibition right now. We can take our time, go to SRC, bring it to the Planning Commission, have the first and second reading here at Fiscal Court, and we can get, what do we want the county to look like? Where do we want this to be? Where do we want these things to sit? And what do we want? Do we want them near parks? Parks isn't in the law. Churches isn't in the law. Libraries isn't in the law. So we can kind of get our grip on what's going on, figure out what we want to do, and then we can reverse the ordinance if we want to come December 1st or January 1, as soon as we get our ordinances in place, how we want to regulate this. And I think that's how we should do it. If we want one in the county, let's get ourselves together on what we want it to look like, where we want it to be, what we want the signage to be, how we want the lights to be, how far from fill in the blank we would like it to be. Because 1,000 feet right now is not very far, and that's 1,000 feet from a school. That's like OCHS to that corner gas station. And so it's not very far. Maybe we want to make it more rigid. But I think once we let this go, we can't back it back up, and we ought to get ourselves together as a county, figure out what we want, and then we can reverse this ordinance once we have our stuff together.
Manager Logston.
Okay. First of all, I've been told that this is on the SRC for Thursday already. Talking about this already. So I think it's going to come faster than we think it's going to start. People are going to start working on it. I'm going to vote for the ordinance. Not because I'm against anybody helping people that need help, because I know that it does help. There's no question about it. From what I hear people talking about, and I've had people call me both pro and against it. So it's split between, just like last night. If you're talking about the ordinance, it's 50-50. If you're talking about wanting to help people out, it's almost 3/4 of the thing. Nobody's wanting to stop from helping people out. But I think, and this is my opinion, and I've tried to get some of the magistrates to do this needs to go on the ballot. People need to vote on this thing. They need to put it in their own hands, decide what's going to happen. And the last thing I have to say is, I'm sitting there looking at all the places that it could possibly end up in the county. 90% of them are going to be in the cities. And you're not taking that control away from the cities. We're just talking about the counties. So that's why I'm going to vote for this right now, because I think it's going to end up in the cities anyway. And we can't stop the cities from doing something.
We need to understand that comment a little in more detail. If we, are you trying to say that if we prohibit in the county, you think a city could still, somebody could put in a lottery that they want to be in LaGrange or Crestwood or something?
That's what they said.
Or if they can do it anywhere, regardless of what we do, is anybody?
Yes, unless
In
they,
their limits, yes.
unless they come
Yeah,
up,
the city limits.
they can come up with their own ordinance.
And I've
But
looked,
if we don't approve this ordinance, we allow it in the county, then I think we have control over where it goes. And
No.
I don't think you put it in the city if we allow it in the
the
county.
cities can do it anyway.
Oh, yeah, they can do it whether we pass this today or not.
Well, I'm not.
The cities have control
Sure
over
about
their
that.
own
Yeah, I just read
jurisdiction.
that. Let me try to find it again.
Well, if it's only going to have one, do we have a planning and zoning control over what's done in the city, Jim?
I yield my rest of my questions.
Hold on, please, everybody. Let me ask a question, and sorry, then I'll get to everybody here.
Good afternoon. For the record, Jim Urban, I'm the Director of Planning and Development Services. Judge, your question was
I'm
what?
asking if we allow, this ordinance does not pass, and we say we're going to allow cannabis sales in the county, are we able to control through our planning and zoning and the fiscal court? I wouldn't be comfortable, frankly, with just the planning and zoning deciding what the advertising location. We can pass an ordinance that says where this can be in Oldham County. Does that cover the cities?
Right here.
If the cities adopt it. So let me back up a second. First of all, it is on the agenda for the SRC on Thursday. And what we are planning, if anything to do, if it moves forward that it doesn't get prohibited, we would, as we heard, we can regulate time, manner, and place. We would put it in the zoning ordinance, make a recommendation. The zoning ordinance has to be adopted by fiscal court and then the individual cities of LaGrange, Crestwood, and Pewee Valley. The rest of the incorporated cities fall under Oldham County's auspices. So they can adopt their own version of it, or they can adopt the version that we recommend through the Study Review Committee and the Planning Commission. So ultimately, it comes back here, Judge. And as Magistrate Hawkins said earlier, it would be 2 readings. The second would be a public hearing where our recommendations on time, place, and manner would be voted on by this body.
Okay.
Judge, I've got this up. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, the KRS, I'll just read it to you, Judge. If a county, consolidated local government, charter county, or unified local government prohibits all cannabis business operations, the legislative body of a city located within the county, consolidated local government, charter county government, or unified local government may approve cannabis business operations within the limits of the city through the passage of an ordinance, or enact resolutions directing that the question of allowing cannabis businesses to operate within the city limits be submitted to the voters. So they have they would have to opt back in through their own ordinance if we pass this today.
Right, but if we don't pass it, we're in control.
Well, we don't have anything on the books. And
We'll
I think
get-
the city of LaGrange would have to also adopt it. It'd have to go to all the governing bodies, right, after it comes to us, Jim?
No, they would do it. They would do it on their own. They could ask the Planning Commission to consider through the SRC regulations, adopt it. And the best way, you can do it as an ordinance, standalone, but the easiest way to identify it is put it in the zoning ordinance. And we have specifically prescribed rules and regulations for those cities. LaGrange has its own version of the sign ordinance, very similar to ours, but they've adopted a slight variation. So they would potentially ask us to put it in the zoning ordinance. Because again, it's time, place, and manner, and typically things like setbacks and the standards for where it's located would be part of what we would put in specifically in the zoning ordinance.
And we could pass this today and then do what you're saying, and at that very same day, retract this and then adopt our zoning ordinances.
You'd have to ask your attorney that. I don't know that.
Magistrate Tice, did you have a question?
My statement was going to be, and I agree with Michael Logston in one thing he said, is that my feelings are right now, is that I'm in support of the ordinance, which is no sales in the county, and then let the cities act. And I say cities, but there's only, if Oldham County was to get one, it would only be one city. I mean, it's ludicrous to think we'd have 2 or 3 in the county. But if there was one, then the city, that would be, in my thinking, as being a businessman, that would be the place where I'd want to have a business if I was doing any kind of business, is where the main population is. You wouldn't want to be out in the middle of, it went through my mind, and this is crazy, but you used to see, it said last stop liquor, before you're heading somewhere else. It's not going to be in an area like that. It's going to be in a city. I think that it's very easy for us to approve the ordinance, which is no sale of cannabis, that the cities individually decide with the city council if they want to address that in their community, and then by that form, we will help support any regulations if we have to. But I think at the city, that's where I am, just.
Okay. Well, the earlier comment was made about this did not go to a committee. Committees are not statutorily required and to be held in county government. We have committees here, I've created committees to assist in studying ideas, looking at things, and so forth. I'm under no obligation to refer anything to a committee. The only committee that has any authority here is meeting right now, and that's a committee of the whole. It's the only statutorily required committee. Everything else is informal, to say the least. So we had a study committee. I think the study committee did not support Magistrate Hawkins' point of view in that day. This body here represents 90% of the people that live in this county. Okay, so I'm not in favor of shifting this decision to whether or not we have this type of store in Oldham County to Pewee Valley or to Crestwood or a small number of people. This is the group that represents everybody in this county, not a portion of the county, but everyone. I don't agree that this store necessarily, if there is one, would be in the city of LaGrange. There are other places it could be, easily could be in the Mattingly Office Park, okay? Doesn't have to be in any retail place. Anyone who wants to access this type of store is going to find out from their physician with their prescription as to where it is, and they will go to that store. In fact, I'm not in favor of putting it in a highly retail location. I think an off-retail location would be much better for all concerned. I personally ask about the control of the Planning Commission and coming to the Fiscal Court. I see no signs, no flashing signs. I see no flags. I see a small sign, I'm going to say 2x3 on a door that says, Eagle Medical Services or something, okay? If you are to access this product, you will easily find out where it is, where to go. No one else has to know. There are no flags that have to be waved in front of every kid in this county that this product is being sold. In my own family, I have a paralyzed individual. That person can't get up and go to Jefferson County. Okay, I'm not in favor of sending people to other places to take care of the people in this county. That's ridiculous. That's why we have a hospital here. We're building a second hospital here, thank God, with the Baptist Health Care. Come on. All this idea about recreational, this and that, we're not talking recreational. We're talking medical help for handicapped, disabled, sorely living people who are in pain. And if someday we're going to get medical marijuana, it goes different in the future, it'll be because the majority of the people in this state and county wanted it. It won't be up to Oldham County whether or not we have medical or recreational marijuana in the state of Kentucky. It'll be up to the legislature. And if enough people who are elected to the legislature to think that's what the people of this state want or don't want, that's what's going to happen 25 years from now. Maybe, or maybe not. Maybe enough other lessons will be learned that it won't happen. Don't fool yourself. All of these things are available in our county right now. The county line makes no difference, none whatsoever. The police can pick up all kinds of drugs very frequently in the sheriff's department. So I think we're fooling ourselves. I think we need, if you want to maintain control of what happens with this, don't shift it to some other people. Take control of it and be responsible right here among ourselves right now for our county.
May I respond to your sign, your 2x3 on the door?
Yes.
I think we should put that into a regulation because right now it isn't in a regulation.
Well, that's what we're going to do. We're going to regulate time, place, and manner.
And then, but the feeling of if somebody applies on July 1 in a couple of days, and then we decide we want your sign to be, we don't want it by a church, all these things that we need to decide. I don't want to have to pull the rug out of a business owner who,
I could care less, frankly.
I think we would get sued.
You roll the dice, you take your chances when you know that we haven't created a situation that outlines time, dates, and place. You want to jump out there and buy a piece of property somewhere, that's your own fault if we don't let you do it there.
But right now, we don't have anything in the books. We don't have any regulations saying.
Well, no, but it says we're going to create regulations for time, date, and place.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but can I ask and direct this to Barry Bagster? If you start creating a regulation before those applications are in place, they would have to comply. I think that would be the rule, right? You can't create something after the fact, but if they can apply July 1st and we start tomorrow, we're ahead of the game.
That's correct.
Well, you can apply,
So
but it doesn't mean you're going to let you go where you want to go.
Exactly. So if we start tomorrow at the SRC and start working on a regulation, anybody applying would have to abide by those regulations we put in place. It's not pulling the rug out from underneath them later. We're starting tomorrow. It's before July 1st. And you heard your county attorney say they would have to abide by those regulations.
Jason?
Just real quick on that point. And that was put in the bill. That's actually in the statute. That was put in the bill at the request of KCO and KLC. They said, I understand that businesses need to get the process moving quicker, but we don't want to push the local governments too quickly. So if they get approved and then you guys outlaw them or you guys put regulations on them, they have to follow that, and that is in the statute. That was at the request of KCO and KLC.
And they are proceeding at their own risk based upon that statutory language.
And they all know it.
Right. Man should die.
Right off the get-go, I'm not going to support this ordinance for a simple reason. I'm looking at the ordinance and in the middle paragraph, it mentions, this is awful small print for me, but it says the whereas it's necessary and appropriate in the best interest of the health, safety, and welfare of the County of Oldham residents and members of the public who visit, travel, or conduct business in the County of Oldham to prohibit all cannabis business within the boundaries of the County of Oldham. Well, I thought we were talking about medical cannabis, which it doesn't bring that up here, but I'm going to side with the judge, which we do so rarely, Judge. I thought this bill, and I've heard Representative Nemes talk about this several years ago, I thought this medical cannabis was for people that had a medical need for it. Now, I've been here patiently for 2 hours or so, or an hour and a half, hearing all of these horror stories about what's going to happen in 15 years. I can tell you right now that nothing that's done in this courtroom today will bind the hands of the next 8 people who are sitting here. We can't bind the future. Now, if we're going to support this or not support this, We don't even know if we've even got a dispensary allocated for us. But I'm concerned about the people, and the judge says he has someone in his family. I have someone in my family that this would benefit them. But that's what we're here to talk about, is medical cannabis, not recreational pot. I've heard this, and I've known people. My brother, when he was in the service, he spent a lot of time in the Netherlands. He said you couldn't walk around the Netherlands without getting high. I mean, part of it, that was their experience. But this is what we have, is what I'm basing my vote on. Is all these other things may come to pass. We may have all these regulations and time, planning and zoning. All that stuff's going to change before it gets to a finished thing. But this ordinance doesn't even address what we're talking about. It doesn't even say medical cannabis. It just says cannabis business. So that's my take on it. And I live on the county line. My backyard backs up to Jefferson County. So I couldn't be any closer, to the dispensary if they put one there. But I think that the situation here is, let's kind of all cool our jets a little bit and let the people that I think the legislature, and it's well written. I don't agree with everything the way you said it, but I think it's much better than what I've seen in the past. So that's my vote. So that's all I got to say.
Magistrate Likens.
Thank you, Judge. I haven't spoken yet, but I think this falls in line with some city in West Virginia that had 400 people living there, and there were 850 prescriptions given for opioids. So I think this is just going to make it a lot easier for a lot of people to get medical marijuana, the same as they got opioids. I think it's going to turn into one of those situations. So I'm voting for it.
Yep, let's vote.
Let's vote.
Call for the question.
Even though you feel the restrictions in it, the doctors, you just think they're going to just...
There's restrictions for opioids too, but they seem to become very common out in the world when a couple of doctors just write prescriptions as fast as they can rip their prescriptions off of their pad. I think it's just going to turn into one of those same situations.
Magistrate Likens, you're still going to have doctors, regardless of what we do today, you're still going to have medical doctors writing prescriptions for medical cannabis in Oldham County, regardless of what we do today. What we're doing today is, can they get that prescription filled here in Oldham County?
That's true.
All right, let's vote.
We're still going to have people getting prescriptions for medical cannabis, regardless of what we do.
That's why okay, let's
vote.
Jason, well, let Jason clarify the medical restrictions among doctors. I think that's a point that, these 2 points, I think Measure Woosley's point was good. It's not going to stop any doctor who is qualified through the program to write this. You're still going to get it.
That's right.
Yeah.
And Magistrate Likens' point was really good too, and that's why, Magistrate Likens, I wouldn't have supported it if it was willy-nilly. The doctor has to be pre-approved by the Kentucky Board of Medical Licensure. Every time that doctor says, Brent gets it, Wayne gets it, Jason, that's put into Casper. And so he or she, the doctor, is going to be regulated. The pill mill docs, the Kentucky Board of Medical Licensure has done a much better job of coming down on them. And so we wanted to make sure that we were as tight as we possibly could. So if that kind of thing that happened to pills happens to marijuana, they'll lose their ability to participate in the program. They should lose their license as a doctor, and they should go to prison. We're not playing around. This is not wink, wink, nod, nod medical marijuana. This is not that. So if a doc misbehaves, that doc needs to be punished.
Agreed. You make a good politician.
All right. Any further comments about this?
There was something that was just, and I know everybody's ready to vote, but when I did talk to the Office of Medical Cannabis yesterday, I asked that too about if you find an APRN or an MD scripting too many, who is in charge of looking at that? And they were still kind of working that out. And they also haven't worked out all the law enforcement stuff either. Because that was another one of my question. But the KBLM, yes, and then it would go to the Office of Medical Cannabis then to kind of decide if that was too many scripts or not.
All right, we have a motion on the floor with ordinance 24-400-467 to prohibit the sale of cannabis in Oldham County.
Medical cannabis.
Right. Well, that's the ordinance says cannabis, but I think it's
Let's say right here.
medical cannabis.
It should have said medical.
All right, I'm going to ask Holly to please call the roll. I think we had a second on that to begin with.
It was
didn't we?
Magistrate Likens.
Magistrate Likens, okay.
Magistrate Hounds,
No.
Magistrate Tice,
Yes.
Magistrate Jeffries,
No.
Magistrate Dye,
No.
Magistrate Likens,
Yes.
Magistrate Woosley,
Judge, you put me in an awkward position to agree with everything you said for reasons to say, to vote no on this, so my vote is no.
Magistrate Logsden,
Yes.
Magistrate Hawkins,
Yes.
No. Motion fails 5-4.
Hey, Judge.
Yes, sir. All right, we'll take a break until 3:45. Is there a motion that we go back into session, please?
So moved.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Our court is back in session. Back down now. The next item, personnel actions and board appointments. We have,
Judge, you forgot the HR committee.
sorry, HR, I guess. I'm sorry, Tina, come up with a job description reclassification.
Before you all this afternoon are two job descriptions that we need to have reclassified to non-exempt positions. The Department of Labor has raised the minimum salary for exempt positions, and we reviewed all the exempt positions that we have in place, and we will now need to change two of them to non-exempt due to that big jump in salary that the Department of Labor wants us to do by January 1st. So the two of those two job descriptions are the Aquatic Center Supervisor and the Community Center Coordinator. So those positions now need to be classified as non-exempt and eligible for overtime pay.
So they were salary.
They were exempt, yes.
Okay.
Exempt from overtime, but now they will not be exempt from overtime.
Judge, I'd like to recommend we amend the administrative code to adopt these two job descriptions.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded that these job descriptions be changed. Is there any discussion on them?
Judge, just one
Yes, sir.
thing. Luckily, it did come through HR committee, and that's a recommendation that came through the committee, correct? Yep. Okay.
I got a question too. Is this the only change on these
Yes,
job
to
descriptions?
those two job descriptions, yes.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next item. Now we're at personnel actions here. I have several board appointments to present. First one, Westport Fire Protection District to reappoint Ryan Steele for a term to continue to June 30th of 2027.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Oldham County Chamber of Commerce Economic Development reappoint Jason Morgan for a term to expire June 30th, 2027.
I'll move that.
Second.
All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. LaGrange Fire Protection District Board reappoint Gary Jones for a term to expire 6/30/2027.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And finally, Ballersville Fire Protection District Board reappoint Danny Adams for a term to expire on 6/30/2027.
I'll move that, Judge.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. I believe all these are second appointment. My general policy, although I will say I haven't adhered to 100% to it all the time, but as depending on circumstances, has been to ask people to serve 2 terms and then try to find others in the community who are capable of assisting these boards so that we don't have lifetime appointments on anything. So if things come up in the future and magistrates would like to make recommendations to various boards, I'm certainly happy to entertain those individuals. And with that in mind, I do want to announce that George Flickner, who's been on the Oldham LaGrange Development Board now for 2 terms, is leaving the board. I want to thank George for his participation. He's done a good job for us and has given us a lot of his time and effort, and particularly insight into dealing with the Army Corps of Engineers. So I thank George very much. I do have a person to replace George on the board. Each of you had received earlier a resume, and this is for Brian Wieneman. Brian is a lawyer with Wyatt, Terrett, and Combs in downtown Louisville. He's a Crestwood resident. He has a great deal of experience in dealing with the construction and development law, and I think will be a very strong addition to our Oldham LaGrange Development Board. So welcome Brian Wieneman, and thank him for his willingness to serve on the board. At this point now, I'd like to.
Judge, excuse
Yes,
me.
sir.
Do you need a vote on that?
No, sir.
Okay. Can we, if necessary, since he does have, I was reading it, he has an extensive background in construction law. Can he be on the ODA board and work as a contract lawyer for the county on some of the situations that may reoccur? We had problem with.
In relation to the older board?
No, with the problem with down at the park.
Oh, well, I
If
don't.
need be.
Well, that I'm not prepared to answer right at the moment. I don't have any plan to employ him
Well,
as.
let's just say any place. I just brought that up to draw you to that.
Yeah,
I mean,
well.
can we hire him and him be on the ODA board, or hire his firm and him be on the ODA board? Is that not a conflict of interest?
Well, it might be. I'm not so sure. We have a county attorney that handles
Right.
our legal affairs here, so I'm not worried about having a lawyer on the older board.
No, you're missing my point.
I'm missing the point. I don't plan on hiring Wyatt, Terrett, and Combs for anything.
There you go. That's the answer.
That's it. Okay.
Solves that problem. I don't need to talk.
Right.
I'm going to get you out of there, Barry.
I'm not hiring. We're not bringing in that group for that reason. I'm bringing in an experienced real estate person who actually has had a lot of experience in dealing with developers. So I think that'll be a good addition there. Okay, now we have any final comments from Magistrate Logston.
I just want to wish everybody a happy 4th of July. The vote we took today is the reason why we can take it, because of July 4th. So please be safe out there. Be careful with fireworks. Don't end up losing fingers over them.
All right. Magistrate Dye.
I don't have anything, Judge.
All right. Magistrate Hawkins.
Fireworks start July 4th at Wendell Park at 10 p.m. if you want to join that party. And if you haven't been to the Aquatic Center yet, you ought to go because it's really fun. So that's all I have today, Judge.
Magistrate Hounds.
Thank you, Judge. Just a comment about fireworks. I appreciate everybody wanting to shoot their fireworks off, but I received a couple of phone calls. When does July 4th start? And some people seem to think that it started last weekend. Those of us that have animals, namely my dog Sophie, does not appreciate the fireworks. In full disclosure, she also doesn't appreciate thunderstorms. So, but just be aware of your neighbors and celebrate responsibly and accordingly. That's all I ask. Thank you.
All right, Magistrate Jeffries.
Judge, I think the only thing, just like to wish everyone a happy 4th, and I think that's all my announcements today, sir.
Magistrate Woosley. Right.
Judge, I just wanted to, again, remind everybody, July 4th fireworks, as Magistrate Hawkins mentioned, 10 p.m. at Wendell Park. July 6th, we're also having the 17th Annual Firecracker 5K at Westport. And want to wish everybody a happy 4th of July, and also want to congratulate whoever the $10 million winner is from the Powerball in Crestwood. I hope it's one of you guys.
Magistrate Tice.
It made me think, Oldham County Day, we've got a walk run that starts in LaGrange at Sire Movie Theater, Drive-In Theater. And if you're a walker or a runner, the run will be right at 6 miles, and the walk will be just half of that for 3. So you may check with the Oldham County Parks on that. I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you.
Magistrate Likens.
Thank you, Judge. Someone remind me when Oldham County Day is.
Third Saturday in July.
20, thank you. I just got one thing. We are renovating the church next door. We finally started doing that interior renovations and exterior. It gives a new cupola. But I would like some people to submit maybe names for that building, because I would like to recognize someone's hard work and someone who's maybe gone above and beyond their call of duty for Oldham County. instead of just calling it the church building. That's what we call it, is the church building. I would like to see it called the blank blank meeting house or space or something like that. So some names for that would be appreciated.
I think Brent Likens building, yeah. Right there. I think, generally speaking, we hadn't really talked about this, but that, I've informally at least called that the Fiscal Court Reception Center.
Well, I just think it'd be nicer to have a name put to it, like the John Black Civic Center. Everyone knows where that is, and it just has a name to it.
Okay. Well, that's something for everybody to think about. All right, thank you for bringing it up. All right, 4th of July is coming up. Everybody have a safe holiday, and I do want to let everybody know that our pool has had some great weather. I'm not sure if we had great weather today or not, but we have had some really good turnouts at the pool, and maybe at least one day this weekend, was it Saturday or Sunday? We had a full house and had to basically keep people outside the gate. Someone had to leave in order for someone else to come in.
Saturday, we were maxed out on Saturday.
Yeah, it was. So we haven't had that experience for a while. Maybe never, I'm not sure, but things are going well, and really am appreciative of all the effort everyone made to get our pool in good working shape, because we know a lot of people are having fun. So that's a good community opportunity. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
You.